the first thing you feel is the light. It doesn't burn your flesh. It doesn't blind your eyes. It simply exists, searing through every thought you've ever had, every act, every whisper of guilt you bury deep within your heart. You are no longer a body. You are awareness. You are memory. You are laid bare before the one being in existence who cannot be deceived. The Emperor of Mankind. The golden throne looms before you like a mountain of dying suns. Its light isn't warm or cold. It is truth. The kind of truth that dissolves the illusions of the self. The chamber around it stretches into infinity, filled with the hum of unseen machinery and the echoes of souls long judged. You feel them still, echoes drifting through the psychic ether, remnants of men and women who once dared to believe they could serve him well enough to be spared. Your name is Kael Varin, once a captain of the Astra Militarum, 122nd Cadian. You remember the mud of Malachar IV, the stench of Prometheum, the screams of your men as the sky fell in fire. You remember dying. Yes, that part is clear now. A shard of shrapnel through the chest, lungs collapsing as you call the Emperor's name with your final breath. And now you stand, exist before him. Your thoughts tremble under his gaze. There are no words exchanged, no booming voice from the throne. Judgment here is not spoken. It is known. The Emperor does not need to ask you what you have done. His mind unfolds yours like a page, and every chapter you wrote in blood or mercy plays before the eternal flame of his will. You try to stand taller even though you have no body anymore. The instinct remains, a soldier's pride refusing to break. You think of the men who followed you, Jarek, who burned alive when the lemon rust exploded, Solin, who prayed even as her hands shook too much to reload. They looked to you for strength. You gave it. You think that matters. You want it to matter. The light grows brighter. You see yourself through his eyes, not as you wish to be, but as you truly were. Every act of courage wrapped around moments of fear. Every sacrifice shadowed by hesitation. Every order you gave that cost a man his life. They unfold like mirrors upon mirrors, thousands of reflections, each one cutting deeper than the last. You realize then, judgment isn't about punishment, it's about clarity. And clarity is agony. You see the night you lied in your combat report to spare your unit the wrath of the commissar. You thought it was mercy. He sees it as defiance of order. You see the day you executed a deserter who begged for his family's life. You thought it was duty. He sees the flicker of disgust in your heart as you pulled the trigger. Every contradiction is laid open. Every justification dismantled. A whisper rises from the throne, not sound, not thought, but presence. It fills you, vast as the astronomican's flame, and you finally understand what it means to be before God in the 41st millennium. You are nothing but a memory in the mind of the master of mankind, and whether you endure or vanish depends not on what you claim, but on what you are. You try to speak, though speech here is a concept, not an act. My Emperor, you think, I fought for you, I believed. The light answers, showing you every moment you doubted him, every time you cursed his silence in the darkness of war. You remember nights on Malachar where you questioned why he never answered the prayers of the dying. Now those moments return like knives. You feel the weight of every word you uttered in despair, and yet, beneath the agony, something else pulses. Hope. For as your soul trembles under his scrutiny, the Emperor does not annihilate you. He waits. His patience is infinite, like the stillness before a final verdict. You sense that he wants you to see yourself, not to destroy you, but to make you understand. In that understanding lies salvation, or damnation. You fall deeper into the light, drawn not by will but inevitability. You see beyond the throne now, the endless stream of souls drifting toward judgment, pilgrims, saints, heretics, and murderers alike. Some dissolve into nothing, their essence consumed by the brilliance. Others drift upward, toward realms unseen, their forms made whole again in sanctified fire. You cannot tell which fate awaits you. And then you see him move. It's the smallest shift, a hand stirring, the faint ripple of gold. The universe trembles. Reality bends like a wounded blade. Every thought in your being freezes as if all time bows in reverence to this motion. The Emperor, unmoving for 10,000 years, turns his gaze upon you. You cannot endure it. The power behind that look is beyond anything you could have conceived. The warp itself recoils. Every lie you ever told, every emotion you ever felt becomes nothing before that gaze. You want to scream, to flee, but there is nowhere to run, only the truth reflected in his eyes. And in that moment, you understand something terrible. He is not merely judging your actions. He is judging your soul's purpose. You see your life as a single thread in the tapestry of his design. You realize how small you are, and yet how deliberate your existence was. Every choice you made, every sin, every act of loyalty was a variable in a plan so vast no mortal mind could grasp it. The realization crushes you. And yet, for the first time since death, you feel peace. Because even your failures had a place. Even your weakness was seen. But the light dims. A shadow begins to coil around the base of the throne. You feel it, something old, something vast, stirring in the psychic deep. It is the Emperor's wrath. It's something else. The residue of 10,000 years of war, betrayal, and corruption, clinging to the edges of his sanctum like oil upon water. And in that darkness you sense something watching you as well, not divine but familiar. A reflection of your own inner rot. Your sins. They take form. Memories made flesh, the specters of the men you killed, the orders you gave, the mercy you withheld. They step from the light, their faces half burned, their eyes empty. You realize now, judgment is not a single moment. It is a battle for your soul. And it has just begun. The throne's radiance flickers once, and the Emperor's gaze fades back into eternity. You are left in the half-light, surrounded by the phantoms of your own creation. The chamber stretches outward into what looks like a vast field of ash and gold. You hear distant chanting, billions of voices praying somewhere beyond mortal hearing. Somewhere in that chorus, you think you hear your own name. You turn toward the echo, and the field begins to change. The ghosts advance. Your past is coming for you. The air, or whatever passes for it in this realm, tastes like burnt iron and memory. The brilliance of the throne is gone now, replaced by twilight that bleeds gold and gray across an infinite plain. The horizon burns with faint light, like the afterimage of a dying sun. You stand at its center, no longer weightless. The Emperor's gaze has withdrawn, leaving something you hadn't felt since your last breath, gravity. It drags at you, not upon your flesh but upon your conscience. Every sin, every regret, every act you once buried under duty presses against your spirit with the weight of planets. And then you see them clearly. They emerge from the haze, shapes of your past, each bearing the face of someone who died by your command. Their armor is torn, their wounds unhealed. The same injuries that ended their lives mark them here. Some are soldiers, others civilians caught in the storm of war. You recognize them all. The first to approach is Sergeant Havoc, his left arm missing, plasma burns scarring his chest. You'd known him for 5 years. He'd been loyal, stubborn, the kind who always saluted even when no officer watched. You remember ordering him to hold the northern trench on Malachar IV when the enemy's artillery began its bombardment. You told him reinforcements were coming. They never did. He stops before you. His expression isn't hate, it's disappointment. That hurts more. Captain Varin, his voice echoes, hollow and layered, as if spoken from 1,000 throats. You promised us salvation. You open your mouth, but no words come. In this place, lies have no sound. Only truth forms speech. You try again, and this time the truth spills like blood. I believed it would hold. The sergeant tilts his head. Belief doesn't stop the shells. He fades back into the mist, and another takes his place. Private Sierra Morn, the youngest in your unit. Barely 17, eyes too bright for the grim realities of war. You see her as she was when she died, half buried in rubble, her lasgun clutched to her chest. You had sent her to flank the enemy line, knowing it was suicide. She volunteered. You told her the Emperor protects. She steps close, the light behind her dimming. Did he? You can't answer, because you remember what you felt when you found her broken body. Not faith, not gratitude, just emptiness. The silence after too much death. She doesn't wait for a reply. None of them do. They come one after another, faces blurring, voices blending. Soldiers, refugees, the colonel you defied, the commissar you reported too late. Each speaks a truth you avoided in life, and each truth drags you deeper into the plane of judgment. At first you think this is punishment, but then a realization dawns: this is understanding. The Emperor's judgment is not to torture but to reveal. He has turned your soul inside out so that you may see what you truly were, and now he lets you confront it. Yet among the hundreds of faces, one burns brighter. A woman S. Adorakesh. The name freezes your mind. You had not thought of her in years. She wasn't a soldier. She was the medici officer you left behind when your regiment evacuated. The orders were clear: retreat and burn everything to deny the heretics supply. You obeyed. You gave the command. She begged you to let her finish evacuating the wounded. You ordered the torching of the medbay anyway. The fire consumed her. Her form stands apart from the others, still, calm, wrapped in light that wavers between warmth and wrath. When she speaks, her voice carries the cadence of 1,000 prayers unanswered. You claim to serve mercy through obedience, but whose mercy was it, Kale? Yours or his? You fall to your knees not from fear but from the weight of that question. You want to say you were only following the codex, the chain of command, the iron law of war. But in the hollow of this place excuses crumble. I thought it was what he wanted, you whisper. She steps closer. Did you ever ask? The field ripples. The Emperor's light flares faintly on the horizon, as if his presence stirs at the question. You realize that, through all your life, you had never truly sought his will. You had assumed it, molded it into the shape that fit your needs, your fears, your pride. And now you pay the price of that presumption. The souls surrounding you begin to merge, forming a tide of shadow and flame. Their voices unite into a single, unbearable harmony, a chorus of accusation and lamentation. The sound shatters whatever composure you had left. You scream, though there is no sound. The ground splits beneath you, light pouring upward like molten gold. The plane collapses. You fall. Through memory, through war, through every moment you lived and died. The fall lasts an eternity, yet it feels like seconds. The light of the throne grows distant above, the shadows thickening into something more than regret. You feel eyes upon you again, not the Emperor's but others, watching, waiting, predatory. You crash into a realm that smells of burnt prayer and psychic ash. The light is gone. In its place stands an altar of bone, stretching across a horizon of silent statues, each carved in the likeness of soldiers, saints, and sinners alike. Their faces bear your features, thousands of versions of you, frozen in every act you ever committed. And at the altar's base lies a blade. You recognize it instantly. The same combat knife you carried through every campaign. The one you used to kill a man who begged for surrender. The same blade you used to carve the imperial aquila into your chest before your final battle. It hums with power, the kind that whispers, "You are not finished yet." You hear a voice then, not divine, not human, it's yours, but twisted, layered with echoes of the warp. Judgment is not only the Emperor's right, it says. It is yours to claim. You can face what you were or deny it. The statues begin to stir. One steps forward, a perfect mirror of you, younger, full of confidence and fire. It draws its last pistol and points it at your heart. You failed us, it says. You broke under doubt. Another statue, older now, scarred, missing an eye. It steps beside the first, raising a sword. You condemned others to save yourself. Then another, and another. hundreds of them circling you, each version of you from a different point in your life. You realize what this is, the trial within the trial. The Emperor's judgment has moved inward. He has withdrawn his light to let you decide. Will you see the truth of yourself or hide behind pride until the light abandons you entirely? You take the knife. Its weight feels impossibly real. Your doppelgangers move closer, their eyes burning gold. You can sense the Emperor's will pressing faintly at the edges of the realm, observing, waiting. He will not intervene. This is your burden to bear. You raise the blade as they close in, their voices blending into a storm. Coward, heretic, liar, betrayer, failure. Each word strikes like a bullet. You stagger, but somewhere inside a different voice rises, a faint echo of every prayer you ever made. It reminds you of something you'd forgotten. You didn't fight for glory. You fought because you believed in humanity's survival. You fought because you loved your world, your comrades, your species. You grip the knife tighter. I failed, you say, but I believed. The statues halt. For the first time, silence. The knife in your hand glows, its edge dissolving into pure light. The doppelgangers begin to fade, their forms unraveling like smoke. For a heartbeat, you think you've won. Then the floor splits open again. A chasm of pure darkness yawns beneath you, swallowing the fading light. From its depths rises something immense, an echo of your sin but magnified into a thing of impossible scale. It has your face but twisted by war, arrogance, and despair. It carries the insignia of your regiment across its chest, but instead of the aquila, the wings are broken. You cannot cleanse what you refuse to confront, it growls. You realize this is the final echo of your pride, the last shadow between your soul and absolution. It reaches toward you, hand like a collapsing sun. The Emperor's light flickers in the distance, faint but steady. You feel it calling, not commanding, not forcing, simply waiting. You understand then, to face this shadow is not to destroy it, but to accept it. The Emperor judges not to erase, but to reconcile. His perfection reveals that no mortal can stand flawless before him. The only path through judgment is acceptance of what you are. You drop the knife, it dissolves. You raise your hands, the shadow hesitates. You look into its eyes, your eyes, and whisper the words you never could in life. I forgive you. The darkness trembles. The battlefield of your soul begins to collapse. The statues shatter, the altar crumbles, and the shadow finally bows its head. It steps forward and merges with you. Light floods the realm once more, not the harsh brilliance of judgment, but something softer, warmer. You stand again before the distant throne. The plain has changed. Where ash once lay, now flows a river of gold, carrying the reflections of every soul that passed this trial before you. You realize you are part of that endless current, the continuation of a truth that stretches across millennia. The Emperor's gaze returns. And though he does not speak, you feel it clearly now. You have seen yourself, Kael Varin. Now you will see what you meant to me. The light consumes you. And when it fades, you stand not in the judgment hall, but in the past, a memory you do not remember. Your world alive again, your regiment still breathing, the war not yet lost. The Emperor has shown you something beyond death. A second trial, one that will test not your soul, but your meaning. The sky above Malachar IV is red again. The same color it was when you died. At first you think it's a vision, one more illusion spun by the Emperor's impossible will. But then the scent of promethium hits you, the taste of iron and dust, the choking thickness of the atmosphere clinging to your tongue. You feel the weight of your armor again. Your boots sink into mud mixed with blood. The vox in your ear crackles with distant screams. You are alive. No, not alive. You are remembering, but not from afar. You stand inside your own past, wearing your body as if it were reborn from the bones of eternity. The Emperor has brought you here, to the moment that defined everything. The moment your choices tip the scales toward damnation or redemption. You look around. The trench line stretches before you in endless ruin. The 122nd Cadian Regiment, your regiment, fires into the fog ahead where the heretics advance in waves. Artillery thunder shakes the ground, rattling the steel plates nailed over the dugouts. You remember the order you're about to give, the one that doomed hundreds. You remember why you gave it. Because command demanded it. Because the Codex said hold at all costs. You can almost hear your younger self shouting that order, the words echoing through time like a wound refusing to close. Stand your ground. Reinforcements are inbound for the Emperor. You whisper them along with your echo, but this time the words feel different. Empty, heavy, because now, for the first time, you hear what followed, what you never let yourself hear while alive. The cries, the prayers, the deaths that didn't need to happen. The ground splits beside you as an explosion tears apart the trench. The air fills with screaming, shrapnel, and fire. You watch yourself, your past self, pull wounded soldiers back, shouting commands, face streaked with soot and blood. You see your courage, your desperation, your faith. But the Emperor shows you more. He shows you what your eyes never saw. You see Adora Kesh, the Medici officer, in a field station just behind the lines, begging for more time to save the wounded. You see her shouting into a broken vox for you to delay the burn order, her hands slick with blood, her lips whispering prayers. You see the moment she realizes you won't wait. And you feel her forgiveness, even as the fire takes her. It hits you like a shockwave. The Emperor's power threads through every heartbeat of this memory. You are not just reliving your past, you are learning what it meant. You fall to your knees in the mud, watching your younger self charge through the chaos, weapon raised high, a beacon of defiance. You almost admire him. Almost. Then the Emperor's voice touches your mind. It isn't thunder or command. It's quieter than breath. Look deeper. The world slows. The shells freeze midair. The flames stand still. Time bends like glass. And then through the silence you hear something that isn't part of memory at all. A heartbeat not yours. Immense, steady, and sorrowful. You turn. And there he is. Not the shattered figure upon the throne, not the golden husk sustained by 1,000 souls, but the Emperor as he was. Clad in radiant gold, taller than any Primarch, eyes burning like twin suns. His presence bends the air, yet he carries no weapon. He walks through the frozen battlefield with calm that silences galaxies. Every drop of blood, every breath of smoke, bends away from him as if reality itself bows in mourning. You cannot move, you can only kneel. He looks upon the battlefield with the eyes of a father, not of rage, but grief so profound it silences thought. And as he gazes at your younger self, at you, you feel it. Not judgment, not wrath, but sorrow. Because he never wanted this. The Emperor's voice enters your soul directly, bypassing sense, bypassing the frailty of words. You believed obedience was faith. You believed death was proof of loyalty, but faith is not fear, and obedience without understanding is not service, it is blindness. Your heart breaks because he isn't wrong. Every battle you fought, every order you gave was driven by a need to please a silent God, but you never knew him. You only knew the image you built of him. The Emperor doesn't speak to justify or condemn, he simply reveals. And what he reveals now is unbearable. You see the Imperium through his eyes. 1,000 worlds burning in his name. Billions crying out to him as he sits entombed, unable to answer. You see priests turning his memory into chains, commissars using his image to justify slaughter, and you realize something unthinkable. His greatest sorrow isn't humanity's failure. It's that he cannot save them anymore. The light dims. You find yourself standing beside him, shoulder to shoulder before the frozen battle. He looks smaller now, still vast beyond comprehension but weary. You see the cracks in his armor, the faint shimmer of wounds time itself cannot heal. His hands tremble as he raises one toward the horizon, where the heretics advance endlessly. "They never stop," he says, "not to you but to the universe, and still I love them." For the first time, you understand why the Emperor weeps. Not for himself, not even for the Imperium. He weeps for humanity, for what it has become in his absence. For every soldier who died thinking his silence meant abandonment, for every prayer whispered into the void. You feel the tears before you see them, warm, real. You didn't think souls could cry, but they can. They fall into the mud, and where they touch, the frozen world stirs. The battle resumes. The heretics scream. The soldiers fire. You stand amid chaos again, but now the Emperor stands beside you, watching, not as a god but as a witness. He raises his hand and the world freezes once more, except for you and him. "This is where your meaning begins," he says, "but you never saw what came after." The field fades, replaced by the aftermath. You stand among the corpses. Smoke drifts upward in silent spirals. The Emperor stands over the fallen, his expression unreadable. From the distance, a single figure approaches, a man in ornate armor, a sigil of the Inquisition on his chest. You remember him, Inquisitor Ralden, the one who arrived days after the battle. He executed half your command for heresy. You hated him for it. But now you see what you never saw then. The Inquisitor kneels beside the burned remains of Adora Kesh. He removes his helm and bows his head, whispering a prayer so quiet it barely exists. Then he says, "She saved 37 before the fire reached her. She refused to stop." The Emperor turns to you. "Do you see now why she was stronger than you?" The words strike like lightning, but there is no malice in them, only truth. You had power, command, authority. She had compassion, and in the end, compassion outlasted you. You sink to the ground. The Emperor's shadow falls over you like the wings of dawn. "You sought me in obedience," he says, "but she found me in mercy. And through mercy, she reflected my will more clearly than your entire regiment combined." You lift your head, choking on regret. "Then why am I here? Why show me this if my fate is sealed?" He kneels before you. The ground trembles. The universe itself seems to hold its breath. Because judgment is not the end, it is understanding. His hand, vast and radiant, touches your chest. You feel everything you were, the lies, the pride, the fear, burn away until only the truth remains. Not a soldier, not a sinner, just a man who tried. But the vision doesn't end there. The Emperor rises, his expression darkening. His gaze pierces beyond you, toward something unseen, something vast and malignant. You follow it, and see the warp itself looming beyond the edges of reality, hungry and endless. From its depths a voice rises, not human, not divine. It speaks with the echoes of every fallen soul. "You cannot save them all, Golden One." The Emperor doesn't answer. His hand tightens. The ground splits again, revealing a chasm filled with the shadows of 10,000 damned souls, those who failed their judgment, their essence twisted by pride or despair. You recognize some of them: generals, governors, priests, warriors, all who stood before him and refused to accept truth. They reach for you. The Emperor steps between. His eyes blaze like a storm of stars, and his voice becomes thunder once more. "This one is mine." The warp recoils. The chasm closes. The Emperor's light erupts, burning the corruption away until nothing remains but silence. Then he looks at you again, and his gaze is softer now, almost human. You have faced your past. You have seen what your obedience cost. Now you must see what your soul became. The world dissolves. You fall upward this time, into light so pure it feels like rebirth. You pass through memories, prayers, and dreams until you emerge in a place beyond understanding, a realm of shifting gold and white. Countless souls drift like motes of light, each singing a hymn older than the stars. And at the center, the throne waits. The Emperor sits upon it once more, silent and eternal, his eyes open. You stand before him again, but now there is no fear, only awe. He raises his hand. In it glows a shard of light, pulsing with your own essence. "This is what remains of you," he says. "Now we will see if it was enough." The shard rises from his palm, hovering between you. It trembles, part flame, part memory. Within it, you see glimpses of your life, your death, your regret, and your mercy. It shines faintly, but a shadow coils at its edge. Judgment is not yet complete. The Emperor's gaze deepens. There is one truth left to face. And the light fades. You are falling again, this time into something far darker. Not memory, not regret, but revelation. You fall through nothingness. No light, no sound, no form, only motion, like being dragged through eternity by unseen hands. The memory of the Emperor's light fades, replaced by a void that feels alive. It doesn't press against you, it watches you. Every fragment of your soul hums in warning. This is not the throne's radiance. This is the place beneath it, the hollow beneath judgment, where truth hides when it's too painful to bear. And then the fall ends. You land upon a surface that isn't solid. It shifts beneath you, rippling like liquid glass. A faint glow rises from below, white, pure, but strained, like the last light of a candle flickering against darkness. You take a step, and the glass mirrors your movement perfectly. You look down and see yourself staring back. But not the soldier, not the dying man. You see every version of you that ever existed. The child on Cadian soil, swearing to serve the Imperium. The cadet trembling during his first bombardment. The captain watching his men die. The ghost standing before the Emperor. Hundreds of reflections layered atop one another, each bearing the same eyes but filled with different light. The glass hums, and the reflections begin to move independently. They speak, not with sound, but with your own thoughts turned outward. I believed in him. I doubted him. I fought for survival. I killed for pride. Each voice overlaps until the air vibrates with unbearable intensity. You want to look away, but you can't. The Emperor's test is clear. He has stripped away every illusion, every comfort, until only your naked soul remains. And now, he shows you what it became when belief met fear. The glass cracks. Each reflection steps free of the mirror, forming a circle around you. They are not illusions. They are pieces of you given form. Your courage, your guilt, your arrogance, your faith. Their eyes glow faintly with golden fire, the mark of the Emperor's will still lingering within them. The first to speak is the faithful you, clad in immaculate Cadian armor, the aquila shining across his chest. He kneels, voice solemn. I never wavered, I prayed through every battle, I obeyed until the end. Why am I not enough? Then the skeptical you, eyes sunken, voice hoarse. Because faith without thought is blindness. You prayed to silence and called it devotion. Another steps forward, the proud you, bearing medals across his chest, face carved with self-assurance. I saved lives, I led men, I made decisions when others faltered. The humble you answers quietly. You also damned the innocent for the illusion of control. Their arguments spiral. Faith against doubt, pride against guilt, courage against fear. Each voice rises, becoming a storm of accusation and defense, and you stand at the center of it, helpless. The mirror beneath your feet pulses. Its cracks glow, threads of gold spreading outward. Through the fissures, you glimpse something vast and luminous, the Emperor's light waiting below. But the surface holds firm, separating you from it. You realize what this place is. It is your soul divided. The Emperor has brought you here to witness not just your actions, but the fracture those actions created within you. Each reflection is a truth you refuse to reconcile, and until they are made whole, you cannot face your final judgment. You take a breath, not air but intent, and speak. Enough. The voice is still. 1,000 eyes turn toward you. You raise your head. I know why you're here. Every choice I made was a fracture. Every belief I held without understanding was another break. But I'm still one soul. I am Kael Varin. I will not let my own ghosts devour what's left of me. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the proud you smirks. You always say the right words, but when it mattered, you were silent. The faithful you shakes his head. You speak of unity, but unity without purity is corruption. The doubtful you laughs bitterly, and purity without compassion is tyranny. They clash, literally. The reflections draw weapons made of thought and memory, striking at each other in a storm of light and shadow. Blades of faith clash with shields of reason. The sound is the echo of every decision you ever made, the resonance of every time you justified one sin with another. You try to stop them, but the fight is too large, too raw. The air fills with shards of light that cut your essence as they pass. You fall to your knees, hands covering your face. The noise becomes unbearable. And then through the chaos, you hear something new. A whisper. It comes not from the reflections, but from beneath the glass. Soft, sorrowful, infinite. Child of humanity. You look down, the cracks in the mirror widen. Through them you glimpse him, the emperor not as the ruler on the throne, but as light itself, boundless and compassionate. His voice fills the void. You cannot fight yourself and find peace. The soul must be reconciled, not victorious. The reflections freeze mid-battle. The light of his will washes through them. Slowly, their weapons fall. They look to you, eyes trembling as if waiting for permission to stop fighting. You rise. Every movement feels like dragging eternity behind you. You look at them, every version of yourself, and finally see the truth. They were never enemies. They were never contradictions. They were fragments, each holding a part of the truth you were too afraid to face. You step forward and place your hand on the shoulder of the faithful you. I needed you, you say. Without faith I would have broken. Then to the doubtful you, and I needed you too. Without doubt, faith becomes blindness. You move to the proud you, whose face flickers between arrogance and fear. You carried me through the worst of it, but pride without humility became a chain. I release you. And to the broken you, the one who never forgave himself, you bore the weight of what I did. You made sure I never forgot. You kept me human. One by one, they begin to dissolve, their forms merging into yours as light flows between you. Each merger is agony and relief intertwined, the burning of memory followed by the cooling balm of understanding. When the last reflection fades, the glass beneath you becomes whole again. The mirror glows so brightly it blinds you. Then it shatters, not in destruction but in transformation. The pieces rise around you, swirling upward, becoming motes of light that form wings of gold behind your back. The Emperor's voice returns, stronger now. You have faced yourself, now you will face me. The world vanishes. You stand once more before the golden throne, but this time the chamber is not still. The air vibrates with raw power. The Astronomican's flame pulses in rhythm with his heartbeat. The sheer magnitude of his presence would have shattered you before, but now you can withstand it. Not because you are stronger, but because you are whole. The Emperor gazes upon you, and for the first time, you sense curiosity within that infinite consciousness. Few souls reach this far, he says, his voice resonating through the fabric of your being. Do you know why? You hesitate because they fear the truth. A faint smile flickers at the corner of his lips. Because they mistake fear for faith. To serve me is not to hide from what you are, it is to confront it until only purpose remains. He rises from the throne, the impossible happens, the golden god stands. The universe shakes. The light of Terra's heart flares across the warp, silencing its storms for a single, eternal heartbeat. The veil between life and death trembles. The Emperor steps toward you. Each footfall births constellations. His shadow alone could crush worlds, yet in that moment he feels near, human, the embodiment of all that humanity could be if it remembered what it was meant for. You bow your head, my emperor, why me? Because your struggle is the Imperium's struggle, he says. You sought meaning in obedience and found emptiness. They do the same. You sought me in silence when I was always speaking through mercy. They must learn to listen. He raises his hand. In it the shard of light that held your essence reappears, but it is different now, brighter, whole. This is your soul, refined through truth, but even purified it cannot yet rest. There remains one wound you have not healed, the wound of creation itself. You don't understand, but you nod. The chamber darkens again. The Emperor's form expands, growing until he fills the horizon. His eyes burn like twin suns. His voice becomes a storm that shakes eternity. Then behold the truth of my sorrow. The throne dissolves, the light fades, and suddenly you stand in a place beyond time. A battlefield stretches across infinity, not of men but of gods. Shapes the size of galaxies clash in silence, their weapons made of concepts, their wounds spilling stars. You see fragments of humanity scattered across the void, tiny sparks of light amid the storm. At the center stands the Emperor, not golden now, but wreathed in shadow and light both, his face carved by grief. Before him rises something vast and terrible, the embodiment of the warp's hatred, the collective hunger of every dark god united in mockery. You watch as the Emperor raises his sword of light, striking against it. The blow shatters worlds, but even as he fights, he bleeds, golden ichor falling across the void like tears. You understand, then, what he wants you to see. He does not judge humanity from a place of comfort. He bleeds for it. His throne is not a seat of power. It is a prison built of sacrifice. And the light that sustains humanity is his suffering, unending, chosen. The revelation overwhelms you. You fall to your knees as galaxies crumble around you. The Emperor turns his gaze upon you once more, and through the fire, you see compassion that burns brighter than any sun. Now you see why I weep, he says. Not because they failed me, but because they forgot that I never abandoned them. The vision collapses. You are back before the throne. The Emperor sits again, his eyes closing. The chamber stills. His voice, now faint, whispers one final truth. Your judgment nears its end, Kael Varan. The question remains, when shown mercy, will you accept it? The light dims. The silence thickens. And somewhere deep within you feel a presence rising, not the Emperor's, not yours, something older. A voice whispering from the edges of the warp, drawn by your enlightenment, jealous of it. It speaks your name. And it knows you. The silence that follows his words isn't silence at all. It's the sound of your soul holding its breath. The Emperor's radiance still lingers on your skin, but it flickers, fading like the last warmth of a dying sun. And beneath that fading glow, something stirs. It starts faint, like a vibration too deep to hear. Then the chamber trembles. The light bends. You feel a pressure behind your eyes, a whisper threading through the cracks of your mind. It's a voice that doesn't echo, it crawls. You've seen his truth, it says softly. Now see his failure. You stagger back. The throne flickers like reality itself glitching. For a heartbeat, the Emperor's golden aura falters, and through the fissure pours darkness, thick and patient. It coils around you, not with violence but familiarity. It's the same darkness that once called to you on every battlefield. The same quiet thought that crept into the silence between artillery barrages. What if there's more than this? But this time, the voice speaks with clarity. He showed you his sorrow. Did he show you his choice? You can't answer. You're trembling not from fear but from the recognition of something ancient and intimate. The voice doesn't sound alien, it sounds human, older than speech, older than the Imperium. He bleeds, it continues, tone almost kind. He suffers because he chose to build his cage. He could end it with a thought, but he won't. He won't because he fears what would follow. Tell me, Kale Varin, does that sound like divinity or guilt? You shake your head, trying to hold onto the image of the Emperor standing against the abyss, but doubt seeps in like water through broken glass. Guilt, fear, those words shouldn't fit him, yet they do. The Emperor was human once, was he, and every human carries regret. The voice presses closer. He judges you for weakness, yet he weeps in secret. He demands obedience, yet he cannot forgive himself. You are his reflection, not his servant. You are what he hides from. The chamber twists. The air thickens. The golden throne darkens until it resembles not a seat but a silhouette, an outline carved in light and shadow both. The Emperor's form remains still, but his eyes open once more, and now they blaze not with light but warning. You hear it, don't you? He says, his voice now edged with sorrow. The lie that was born from my truth. The darkness behind you stirs, like an ocean wave rising to eclipse the sun. The voice laughs, a low, resonant tone that makes the walls of reality tremble. Lie, it whispers. No, Father of mankind, I am truth unfiltered, the part of you that refused the cage, the whisper you buried when you chained yourself to that throne, and now your children hear me again. The realization strikes you like a hammer. The voice isn't a demon, not in the way you've known them. It's not rage or hunger. It's sorrow given teeth. The echo of something that once was human, once served and was broken by it. The Emperor rises once more, and the chamber erupts with holy fire. Begone! The word doesn't echo, it annihilates. The dark shape shatters like glass flung to the edges of perception, but fragments remain, circling you like ashes in a solar wind. They whisper your name again. You fall to your knees. The ground feels less real now, more memory than matter. The Emperor looks upon you, not angry, not disappointed, but tired. You see now, he says quietly, judgment is not about sin, it is about choice. When faced with truth, will you seek comfort or will you endure? You want to answer, but the darkness whispers first. Endure, it hisses. Endure what? His endless silence, his empire of suffering built upon devotion he cannot return. You have endured enough, you have earned release. For the first time since this began, the light of the Emperor dims, not from weakness but from something deeper, permission. He allows the voice to speak. And so it does, unfurling its story like a serpent shedding skin. You see visions not of the Imperium but before it, ancient Terra burning under war, humanity fractured into empires that devoured one another. You see the Emperor walking among them, not as a god but a man in golden armor, eyes weary, heart aflame. He unites them not through miracles but through will. He builds his dream on blood. He was never meant to be a god, the voice whispers. He was meant to be free. The scenes change, Astartes' legions marching, the great crusade unfolding across the stars, the Emperor's dream turning radiant. But within that light, shadows grow. Suns built to serve, each carrying a fragment of his soul, each doomed to reflect his flaws. You see them rise, you see them fall. And then you see him, bound to the golden throne, not by chains, but by choice. He feared what would happen if he left them, the voice murmurs. He feared that without him they would destroy everything, so he stayed. And in staying he became the very thing he hated, a tyrant of eternity, a god who cannot die, who cannot love, who cannot rest. The whisper presses against your ear like a lover's breath. You are his mirror, Kale. He judges you because he cannot forgive himself. But I can forgive you. Let go, come with me. I will show you what it feels like to rest. You want to resist, but the offer seeps deep. Rest. It's such a small word, yet it weighs more than all the wars you've fought. The voice promises no torment, no endless service, only release. But then you remember something. The Emperor's eyes when he showed you his suffering, the compassion that burned even through agony. You recall his words. They forgot that I never abandoned them. If he endures eternal pain for humanity, then rest cannot be your reward. Not yet. Not while he still bleeds for you. You straighten, shaking. You say he's a prisoner of his own making, you whisper to the dark. But at least his chains are forged from mercy. What are yours made of? The darkness freezes. The tone changes, less gentle, more ancient. You think mercy is strength. You think suffering is holiness. I am what remains when mercy fails, when gods starve on faith and mortals drown in devotion. I am what even he cannot destroy. The chamber convulses. The floor cracks, light and shadow spilling in equal measure. From the fissure a shape rises, a figure draped in robes darker than the void, face hidden by a shifting veil. Its presence is overwhelming yet intimate, like standing before every temptation you ever succumbed to and every truth you ever denied. The Emperor stands unmoving, but his light bends around it, as though refusing to touch. You were once mine, he says, voice resonant with memory. Born from my will, from the dream of what humanity could become, yet you chose the easier path. The figure tilts its head. I chose honesty, it replies. You chose hope. The words slice through you, sharp as faith turned inward. You finally understand. The voice, this being, it isn't a demon. It's doubt itself given form in the warp. The echo of the Emperor's own despair made sentient. It is the shadow cast by his light. And now it stands between you both. He would see you purified, the shadow says, turning to you. I would see you free, choose. The air trembles. Every cell in your body screams with contradiction. The Emperor's gaze pierces you with warmth and sorrow. The shadow's promise wraps you in serenity and apathy, two ends of the same truth. You close your eyes. You remember the men who died beside you on the front lines, whispering prayers they didn't understand. You remember the innocents who looked to the sky for salvation and found only fire. You remember the Emperor's eyes, golden, grieving, unyielding. And you speak, not to either of them but to yourself. I've seen what faith without truth does. I've seen what truth without mercy creates. I won't choose between them. I will walk where both refuse to go. The chamber shudders. Both beings, light and dark, pause. For the first time the shadow recoils, uncertain. The Emperor's eyes gleam, not in approval but recognition. You understand, he says softly. Judgment is not obedience, it is understanding. The light flares. The shadow shrieks, its form fracturing into streams of black mist that spiral around you before dissolving. But as it fades, it whispers one last thing, something not hateful but prophetic. You have chosen the path of the weary. Pray it does not break you as it broke him. Then it's gone. The chamber stills. The Emperor lowers his head, the radiance dimming back to a solemn glow. You have seen what few souls ever do, he says. Now your judgment can end. But first you must understand the price of mercy. He reaches toward you and the air thickens into gold. The throne's light consumes everything. For a heartbeat, you see the galaxy itself, a trillion souls burning, praying, killing, hoping. Their voices merge into one vast cry, neither praise nor blasphemy, just existence. And through it all you feel his will, ancient, weary, unwavering, holding the warp itself apart, a wall between creation and chaos. You finally see the truth of your judgment. It was never about punishment. It was about preparation. The Emperor doesn't destroy the unworthy. He refines them. Every soul judged by his light becomes a mirror through which humanity remembers what it once was and what it could be again. He looks at you one last time, and you feel his words without hearing them. The final truth awaits, beyond me, beyond death. Light erupts, the throne disappears, your body dissolves into motes of consciousness. You are falling again, but this time you know where you're going. You are being sent to the place after judgment. The place where the Emperor's light ends, and only truth remains. There is no falling this time. There is only drifting. Through silence so deep it feels like the first breath before creation. The Emperor's light has faded behind you, but its echo hums through your being, like warmth that lingers after a flame dies. Ahead, there is only darkness. Not the chaos of the warp, not the malevolent sentience of demons, but a calm void that waits, eternal and patient. You do not know if this is death, or something beyond it. You drift until you see it, a horizon of light that is not gold nor white but something older, the color of truth. It stretches infinitely, a shimmering veil between existence and oblivion, and there upon that boundary stands a figure. Not the Emperor, not a god, not even a man. It is you. But not as you were, not the soldier, not the ghost, not even the soul refined through fire. This reflection is pure awareness, neither mortal nor divine. The final version of what you could have been if every wound, every regret, every victory had balanced perfectly. It speaks but no mouth moves. You have walked the path of judgment and survived. The voice is not sound. It's understanding itself, vibrating through the fabric of your essence. Now you stand where even the Emperor cannot tread, the threshold between his will and the source beyond it. You take a step closer, and the horizon ripples. The light reacts to your movement, as if recognizing something buried within you. You ask, what is this place? The reflection tilts its head. This is where all truths converge. The Emperor's light ends here, not because it fails, but because it cannot cross into what was never his to command. It raises its hand, and the veil parts. Beyond it lies a sight no human should behold, a sea of souls, countless, endless, unified, not as individuals but as one infinite awareness. The human spirit in its truest form, collective, unbounded, eternal. The Empyrean without madness, the warp as it was meant to be before it was poisoned by fear. You feel tears forming, not of grief but recognition. Every soul you ever touched is here. Every man who died under your command. Every woman who prayed for deliverance as the sky burned. Even the enemies you slew. They are all here, and none of them hate you. They understand you. And then you understand what judgment truly meant. The Emperor did not seek to weigh your sins against your virtues. He sought to restore you, to bring you back to the wholeness that all humanity once possessed, before the universe learned to break itself. Your reflection steps aside, revealing the path through the veil. You may cross, it says, but if you do, you will cease to be you. You will join what lies beyond, the consciousness that binds all life. You will never return to the throne or the Imperium or memory itself. You hesitate. For the first time since this began, fear returns, not of pain but of peace. You have carried struggle for so long that the absence of it feels unbearable. To let go means no more fighting, no more purpose. But perhaps that is what he meant by mercy. Before you can decide, the light behind you shifts. You turn, and there he is again. The Emperor stands at the edge of the void, his form vast yet contained, his radiance dimmed but steady. Here, his power feels restrained. Not by weakness but by respect for what this place is. Even he cannot cross it fully. You have come farther than most souls ever will, he says. You have seen what lies beyond my reach. His voice trembles slightly, though not from fear, from awe. Do you see now why I endure? You nod slowly, because there's something greater than even you beyond all this. He inclines his head. Yes, the source. The truth that I once sought and could not hold, the truth that no God may command. He raises his hand. Threads of golden light stretch from his palm to the horizon, connecting to the field of souls beyond. Every soul I save, every thought that endures, every prayer whispered in the dark, it all feeds the bridge between what is and what should be. Humanity's final evolution lies beyond that veil, not as slaves, not as worshippers, but as part of creation's truth. His gaze softens, and for the first time the Emperor looks human again. But to reach it, they must survive the age of fire. They must remember mercy while surrounded by despair. They must not become what they fight. He steps closer, light flowing from his armor like mist. That is why I judge, not to condemn but to guide. The soul that stands before me carries all that humanity is capable of: love, cruelty, doubt, and hope. You have seen each of these within yourself. You have faced them without flinching. That is why I chose you. The words strike you harder than any wound. Chose me for what? The Emperor extends his hand. To become a voice within the silence. He gestures to the horizon where the souls shimmer in eternal communion. I cannot walk there, but I can send my messengers. Souls who have seen me and understood, not as a god, but as the symbol of humanity's endurance. They carry fragments of my light into the realm where faith becomes truth. Your heart trembles, and if I refuse, then you will rest, he says simply. Truly rest, but your light will fade and your memory with it. You will be at peace, but humanity will lose one more thread of understanding. You look back at the horizon. The collective beyond it calls to you, a pull deeper than gravity, softer than any promise. You hear voices within it, faint but familiar. The men who died beside you. Your family. Those who prayed for salvation you could never give. They whisper not in words but in feeling, join us, be whole. And then another whisper just beneath theirs, softer, gentler, impossibly distant. The Emperor's own thought, bleeding into the silence, stay, help them see what you have seen. You are torn between two infinities. To join the source is to become truth itself. To remain is to serve as a bridge between pain and peace. The reflection of you steps forward again. Every choice you've made has led to this, not life or death, not faith or doubt, but meaning. So, what meaning will you choose? You close your eyes. You remember the cold of Cadia, the smell of promethium and blood, the roar of Lasphare and the silence after it. You remember the first time you looked at the stars and believed they were endless, and the first time you realized they were not. You remember the Emperor's face, grieving, proud, resolute. And you decide. You turn from the veil and kneel before him. My Emperor, you whisper, let me be your witness. The Emperor's expression softens. Then rise, Kael Varin, not as a soldier, not as a soul, but as remembrance. He places his hand upon your forehead. The touch burns not with pain but with purpose. You feel your being expand, dissolve, reform. You are no longer confined to one body, one moment. You become awareness itself, a spark of gold set adrift in the infinite darkness. His voice echoes through you, final and absolute. Go and carry light where even I cannot see. And you are gone. The throne fades, the Emperor fades, time fades, yet your will remains. You drift through the void again, but now you see differently. The warp no longer burns you, it bends around you, curious, cautious. You move through its storms like a thought through a dream. Every whisper of corruption that once sought to consume you now shies from your light. You have become something new, not a demon, not a saint, but a memory given purpose. You pass battlefields frozen in eternity, worlds swallowed by time, fleets turned to ghosts, and in each place your light lingers. You touch the hearts of dying soldiers, the minds of weeping mothers, the prayers of forgotten monks. And in that touch they find peace, not salvation, not false hope, just the strength to endure one more day. You are the echo of the Emperor's compassion, carried through the storm. A whisper in the minds of those who doubt, saying, you are seen. A flicker in the hearts of the lost, saying, you are not alone. And slowly across the ages, something begins to shift. The Imperium's darkness remains vast, its cruelty unending, but among its people, tiny sparks awaken. A child refuses to betray her friend to survive. A guardsman prays not for victory, but for mercy. A tech priest questions the machine god and finds wonder instead of fear. Each acts small, almost invisible, but together they form constellations. And somewhere, deep within the immovable silence of the golden throne, a flicker of gold trembles at the edge of the emperor's stillness. His lips move imperceptibly. Perhaps it is memory, perhaps it is gratitude, perhaps it is simply a sigh. But in that breath, you know he remembers you. He remembers what you chose. And though he still bleeds for mankind, though the galaxy remains fire and ruin, one truth endures above all others. Humanity is not beyond redemption. Because in every heart that dares to hope, no matter how small, a piece of his light still burns. And you are its messenger. Forever adrift, forever awake. Neither saint nor sinner, neither judged nor saved. Simply human. And in the endless dark between stars, that is enough.